Good morning, one and all. This is Dr. Diana. Welcome to session 38 on modern software engineering. We have been looking into agile development principles. We have completed 5 units, completed its revision. Then we started with the guided tour on what agile principles can be used for. And once we started the guided tour, some of the preliminary keywords which are used in agile development practices we have developed into picture dictionaries, and we have learnt by way of pictures. Now we will continue with the guided tour on agile principles after having completed some of the preliminary words. Now we started with why agile is important. Why do we go in for a new set of development strategies than using the traditional methodologies? And then we identified that agile gives you the benefits of a happy stakeholder, a very quality product that is delivered, and you are also increasing the productivity of the team members, and we are getting the software ready to market in a very short span of time. And we have seen that Agile Manifesto is the baseline upon which all these strategies are built. So they give you a compare and contrast of things, of what not to value and what to value. So when we looked into that, we saw that we gave more importance to individuals and interactions in the traditional methodology, which should be overcome by giving more importance to processes and tools. Likewise, we have seen we have to opt for contract customer collaboration rather than contract negotiation, and we should also look into providing better working software than working on comprehensive documentation, and we should opt for responding to change than following a strict plan. So we have seen these 4 as the Agile Manifesto, based on which the entire agile development principle is built on. And we have also seen what basically agile development is, where you put your entire team into work, and we also saw that the team must not be more than 25 people for us to adopt agile to the best effect. And we have seen this is the basic strategy in agile development, where once you start your development for some particular software, you divide it into multiple iterations or sprints, and these sprints or iterations usually last for 2 weeks. So every 2 weeks we are going to do certain things again and again till the completion of the software. So the first thing is to discover what the client wants, design that, develop that, test that, and then give a piece of that to the client. Then you identify something more that is required by the client. In the second iteration, you discover that, design that, develop that, test that, and then provide it to the client. So you keep giving tangible deliverables every 2 weeks to the client, and this 2-week period is called as the iteration or sprint. So we have been seeing an iterative model of software development, which is agile. Along with this pattern of development, we have seen certain principles that can help us become highly productive and to produce a very high quality of code during these sprints. So that was the basic idea in agile development. Now, when we look into that, we have seen that these are the key concepts in agile development. Agile concentrates on a simple design. It uses pair programming, and it adheres to the test-driven development approach, where refactoring is the most important aspect. So for all of these keywords we have looked into a picture dictionary, and we have understood these concepts earlier. So till this we have already seen in our guided tour, the first session of the guided tour. Now once we have completed the core principles of agile using a picture dictionary, we are going to move forward into the second green level of principles. So this green level of principles work on an entire team. So it concentrates on aspects that had to be adhered by the entire development team. So when we think of that, the four major principles adopted by Agile are a coding standard, a sustainable pace of development, and then continuous integration and collective ownership. Part of this sustainable pace, we have already seen what Slack is, and we've also worked on it using a picture dictionary. So Slack is an additional amount of time included in the time frame. So in every iteration, this 2-week period, we have a plan to go with. We have a plan for the iteration for every team member, what they should complete by the end of the iteration. Now, if we do a micro level planning of every hour for every programmer, we may not end up effectively delivering all of them. It is because the team member might be using some of that into an unaccounted time. To avoid that, we have seen that we need to introduce some free time intentionally into the iteration plan, so that even if the team member fails to deliver it according to the timeline, he will still be able to use that free time given in the slot to deliver the iteration commitment. So that is how we maintain a sustainable pace for developing in the agile environment. So Slack is one important aspect in maintaining sustainable pace. Once we have identified that, and once we have included a Slack time in our iteration planning, then we started with coding. When we start coding, we just like how we expect the team to work together, we should also expect the code that is developed by the team to work together. That's the natural byproduct. So that is our ultimate objective also. So in order to achieve that, we need to adopt certain guidelines across the entire team, so that when all the team members put their code together, they will work fine. That is the next topic for our picture dictionary, which is the coding standard. Now this coding standard just like is like a set of rules that help you define how your code should look like. Because agile developments are basically parallel in nature, the team members independently develop pieces of code which are then integrated to form the bigger module. When we try to achieve that, we should have in mind that when we put the code together, it should work fine. Otherwise, integration takes a lot of time. So in order to make this integration process easier, we are going to follow the coding standard. Now, to understand the coding standard, you can imagine that there are a lot of people working parallelly on different aspects of the software. This coding standard defines certain rules of what you must adopt and what you must not do during coding. So these are like guidelines. When you adopt these rules, you can verify the code of every individual team member and check whether it is of the required quality or not. So that's what is represented in the picture. On top you can see multiple people working together, and then on the left bottom you can see that there is a set of rules of do's and don'ts while writing code. And on the right you can see that the code is being reviewed and checked for quality, which ensures the development process run through some quality. Now this coding standard are a collection of coding rules, guidelines and best practices that have to be adopted by every team member who is taking part in the development of code. Using the right one will help you write cleaner code. So we have already seen what unclean code and clean code are. So to write clean code, we should follow some best practices which are defined as the coding standards. There are 4 main drivers based on which you can draw your coding standards, or you can define your coding standards. The first one is it should comply with the industry, such as the ISO certified standard we should comply with. Then the second main thing is the code should be having consistent quality no matter who writes the code. Imagine there are 25 people writing the code, and one of them is a really very experienced programmer and his code is outstandingly good. And there's another novice programmer who's also in the team whose code might not be good enough. So in order to avoid these, if we come up with a coding standard, it ensures quality no matter who writes the code. And we also should include some guidelines for ensuring security of the software. So every time you write a software, we should have an eye on how it will work for the software security aspect. And the fourth last one is, when we adopt coding standards, it gives us reduced development costs and accelerated time to market, in the sense that there are less number of errors that you will have to work on if you follow a strict coding standard, and it helps you integrate smoothly, which drastically reduces the development cost. And when you develop very clean pieces of code, it also accelerates the time, or it makes your team more productive, so that you are able to deliver your software ahead of schedule. Now, coding rules and guidelines should ensure that the software is safe, so that it is without causing any harm, and it should be secure so that people are not able to hack it, and it should be reliable, which means it should function as it should every time. It should be robust. Every time the user changes the aspects also, it should work fine. And then it should be testable at the code level. Any number of tests that you run, the software should be answerable for your tests, and it should be maintainable. When I say maintainable, this is very, very important when you write clean code. When the code is unclean, when you have a lot of buggy code or very complex code which is not very effective, later at some point of time, when some other developer tries to give an update to this software, it becomes really hectic, because it is difficult to understand the code that is already written. To avoid this, we develop a methodology of coding standard to ensure that you write a clean piece of code which is understandable in the future when you want to make updates. Portable. You should ensure that the code that is developed is portable, because once you give it over as a deliverable to the client, it should be able to work on any platform independent of the machine that the client offers to you. So when I go and install the software in a Linux machine, it should work, and when I go and install it on a Windows machine, it should work. It should work on a 32-bit frame and on a 64-bit frame, and all of these aspects should be taken care of, and the software thus developed should be independent of the machine on which it is executed. So these are some of the aspects which we need to concentrate when we plan our coding standard. Now, these are some of the sample coding standards which are used. These are very generic and they are applicable to most of the coding languages. The first is limited use of globals, which means when you write your code, use less number of global variables, so that anybody who tries to access your data, they will not interfere or overwrite your data. And use standard headers for different modules. Naming conventions for local variables and global variables, constants and functions should be defined in the coding standard. The way you name a variable or a constant, it should give you an idea of what the purpose of the variable is and does it have any default values. All this information should be available by looking at the name itself. And the most important thing is indentation. Indentation is just tab setting, where you start your line from. So when you write your C programs, you would have seen that the for starts with the first column of your row. And once you enter inside your for loop, the code becomes indented to a tab space, or it starts from the fifth column of the second row, and all the lines of code which are contained inside the loop have the same indentation. or they start from the 5th column of the respective rows. So that is called as indentation. Indentation plays a very major role and it helps you debug your code easily. You should also define coding standards that tell you how to return error values and methods for exception handling and the naming conventions for all of these. Coding standards not only define standards for the code that is written, but also for the documentation that is going along with the code that is developed. Now, these are some of the don'ts in coding standards. Avoid using coding style that is too difficult to understand. So if I give a naming convention saying first 3 should be an alphabet, then a number, then a capital and a shift, it doesn't make any sense. So your coding style should be easy to understand and it should be most informative. And you should also avoid using an identifier for multiple purposes. Don't use the same identifier for multiple purposes. Define different indicators or identifier for each of the purpose that you use. And when you design functions, let your functions be short enough. They should not be very lengthy. All of these should be done using short pieces of functions or short pieces of code. And one important thing is not to use a go-to statement, or for that matter any unconditional execution control should not be used in the program. Always be clear of why you are transferring the control. Only then, for somebody who wants to maintain the code or update the code on a later date, it will be very helpful. And these are some of the advantages of coding standards. Avoid using a coding style that's too difficult. When you talk about advantages, we say we are able to develop clean code that is maintainable, and we develop a safe code that is not hackable, and you develop a code that is easily integratable with the other pieces of code from the same team. And when you use coding standard, you develop cleaner and better performing code. To conclude, a coding standard is a set of guidelines adopted by the entire team so that it defines what should be done, how you should write the code and how not to write the code. So that once the team decides to integrate on all pieces of code from every team member, it integrates smoothly. So at the end of every iteration, every piece of code will undergo a review of whether they have followed the coding standard or not, and it will be approved. So we are moving on into the next level of understanding some agile principles. For now, this is for today. We will take more sessions on the other aspects and the later things. This is Dr. Diana signing off. Thank you one and all.